Before the bombs hit Iran, some were already counting their profits. Could you be next? This is Inside ETFs, and we're talking about congressional funds. As US airstrikes lit up the skies over Iran this weekend, on prediction platforms, a handful of accounts place bets so perfectly timed, it's hard to call it luck. During conflict, info can circulate within a broader circle before becoming public. So what if you could track trades of the people closest to power? Enter Republican and Democratic ETFs, your ticket to mirroring the stock trades of Congress itself. So can lawmakers profit from more, and can you too? Let's ask Dan Weiskopf, Senior Portfolio Manager at Tidal Financial Group. So Dan, the escalation with Iran immediately shifted the attention of markets. Did congressional trading data show any positioning ahead of the strikes?
The same grift continues. And what we've seen is that, as an example, GOP, which is more overweight to defense as well as energy, has done very well as compared to Nance. It's just the way it is. Nothing's really changed. It's more that the structure of how they're voting with their dollars is working within the context of this marketplace.
So the positioning within that Republican ETF, is that just the party in power with a potential advantage, or simply reflecting long-standing policy preferences?
Yeah, it's a long-standing policy that a lot of the members of Congress, including some of them who are on the important committees that are allocating the capital to the defense contractors, are actually investing in those stocks. It's a whirlwind of conflicts, and I'm not quite sure how they can continue doing it in good conscience, but they are.
Well, let's turn to the Democrats, though. They are navigating internal divisions over the Iran response. Do these political splits show up in their portfolio exposures?
They haven't changed very much how they've allocated. They do have a little bit of defense exposure, and that's all fine, I guess, like a 2-3% versus like a 5-6%. But the energy is a 0 in Nance, right? Versus like an 8% exposure in GOP, the Republican side. And so that's why GOP is up like 7% and Nance is down like 2%.
Well, the Republican fund also has exposure to financials and indirectly Bitcoin, and we saw crypto briefly topping $70,000 before retreating. So how much of these ETFs' performance ultimately comes down to the lawmakers' trading skill?
Dave McCormick was the one we were really following closely on the Bitcoin allocation. And, he comes from Bridgewater as a former president of the firm. And he did about 16 trades in the way of allocating to spot Bitcoin. Historically, in situations like what we're experiencing, Bitcoin does very well. So we're watching that allocation closely. But candidly, it's been a headwind up until recently.
Well, defense stocks have rallied in the aftermath of the Iranian attack. For investors looking at geopolitical risk, does it make more sense to just own a pure defense ETF rather than a politically constructed portfolio?
Well, if that's what you're trying to achieve, yes. The way I look at it is that GOP and members of Congress from the Republican side, they're more value oriented. And on the other side, Nance, they're more growth oriented. So if you want to just allocate to defense, you should be looking at an ETF that is just dedicated to defense. But you're not going to get the same insights that our honorable members of Congress provide to us in these ETFs.
Well, let's talk prediction platforms now, like Polymarket. They face scrutiny over well-timed geopolitical bets. If policymakers shift from stock disclosures to less transparent vehicles, does that undermine your strategy?
I don't see why it would. No, I don't think so. The strategy still is focused on how members of Congress are voting with their dollars. I mean, at the end of the day, markets are a voting machine, like Graham Dodd used to say, and it's still that way, right? And so I don't see that much change as a result of the prediction markets. It's also, frankly, a different group of people who are investing. When I look at members of Congress, they're all about my age. I'm not sure the prediction market has those same types of investors.
So finally, Dan, one of the few bipartisan moments in the State of the Union address was President Trump's call for action on congressional stock trading. Is this strategy on borrowed time?
No. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your vantage point, it's definitely not on borrowed time. Members of Congress enjoy the privilege of investing, I still say the same thing that I've said right along. These are conflicts of interest that could just be handled better. The technology exists. If you're on the defense committee, you just should not be able to invest in defense stocks. If you're on the energy committee, you just shouldn't be able to. We in the financial services industry have filings and a protocol that we have to go through if we want to invest. There's no reason why they can't do the same.
That was Dan Weiskopf from Tidal Financial Group. Don't forget you can watch more videos on Reuters.com.